We've all heard of Carnage. It's one of the UK's biggest student events organisers. However, they've caused major controversy with the name of their most recent night out, Pimps and Hoes. All of these people have gathered to show that they are absolutely disgusted by what they call a demoralising and offensive name.
I think we all know that a pimp is a man who violently exploits and manipulates women or men into selling sex to take their earnings, and I just don't think that's something that we should be having a party about, really.
I'm opposed to the violence against women that takes place in prostitution, and I want to stand up for the rights and the humanity of trafficked women and trafficked children and trafficked people everywhere.
2, 4, 6, 8, no more violence, no more rape. 2, 4, 6, 8, no more violence, no more rape.
I spoke to the police the other day and asked them how many more sexual assaults, anything sexual, in Sheffield Central compared to last year. 14 more. That's 14 people, both men and women, whose lives have been altered. And I'm not blaming it all on prostitution, but it's about subliminal messages.
My name's Lucy. My t-shirt says no one should be bought and sold.
The point of Carnage is to have a good night out with all your friends. And it doesn't matter what the dress theme is, so long as you're in a Carnage t-shirt, no one cares what you're actually wearing.
Pimps and Hoes is about as tasteless as you can possibly get. The degradation and almost the celebration of violence against women I think it's a despicable event.
1, 2, 3, 4, I'm a person, not a whore. 5, 6, 7, 8, no more violence, no more rape.
Labour councillor for Broomhill, she's here with us tonight. She took a motion to council to get them to condemn the theme, and all parties did, and Carnage ignored that too.
No, I think it's a bit tongue-in-cheek. Yeah. I can see how it could be said. How fast is that? I can see how it could be said that it was offensive, but I think it's a bit of a joke, to be honest.
When I saw the Carnage protest on Facebook and the absolutely disgusting things people were placing about the people who didn't agree with women being portrayed as prostitutes.
It's a fancy dress night out. If you're going to take that seriously, then that's your problem. But
I think people see it as just another party theme, so synonymous with cops and robbers or tarts and vicars. And what I want to say to people is actually, if this was a tarts and vicars bar crawl, we wouldn't be here because it's not the same thing.
Watch out.
It's midnight, I'm outside the Arts Tower and I'm waiting to watch the Cycling Society in their charity race to Brighton. Let's see who can make it first, them or the hitchhikers. So how long do you think you're going to be riding for?
Well, it's 240 miles, so hopefully we can ride for less than 17 hours, including breaks, hopefully.
And how many breaks are you going to have?
Well, I don't know, probably every couple of hours, every 2 hours we'll stop for about 10 minutes or so.
And are you worried about the cold?
Well, hopefully it's not going to go icy or anything, but as long as we keep moving, it'll be all right.
What type of speed are you going to average at, and what formation are you going to ride in?
Okay, well, we're going to probably be... the aim is to ride for at least 15 mile an hour, because then that will give us about 15, 16 hours worth of riding. But we try and ride in pairs, 2 of us
And
together.
how much money have you raised for the charity?
At the moment, I think it stands about 500, but we're hoping that will go up a little bit more.
And who do you think is going to make it first?
Oh, we'll definitely be there first, surely.
So how much do you guys expect to raise them for charity in total, the whole of Bummit?
I think it's £13,000.
So what are your hitchhiking tactics?
Dressing like mainly.
And who do you think is going to win, you or the cyclists?
Cyclists, probably. Okay, or us.
Okay, so what sort of charities does this race raise money for?
Baby Bummit's supporting 4 charities: Haven House, which supports vulnerable women, the Children's Hospital Charity, Broomhill Breakfast, which we visited the other day, and the last one is what's the last one?
Another worthy cause.
Cecily's Fund.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is our international charity.
Okay, yeah, we're going to film at the Broomhill Breakfast on Friday. What was the breakfast like?
It's really, really nice. They're really, really friendly.
Hello, I'm here with Sheffield Central MP Paul Blomfield talking about the upcoming NUS demonstration on the 19th of November. Okay, firstly, do you think the demonstration can make a difference?
I think it's important that people raise their voices when they're not happy with government policy. I mean, I joined 100,000 people recently on the TUC demonstration in London because there are deep concerns about the way that government economic policy are impacting on people, and I think it's right that those concerns should be expressed.
In terms of that, with Nick Clegg's obviously U-turn in terms of raising tuition fees, what are your personal opinions on that issue?
Well, I've always argued against increasing tuition fees. I think that given the way that we have expanded higher education, there is a need to involve students in making a contribution, but I think it should be done fairly, not with high tuition fees, which act as a disincentive. I've always argued in favour of a graduate tax, which means that people will pay a little bit more on their income tax after they graduate, but they don't go into university with a fear of debt, and they don't have to pay back what they need to borrow to get there.
I mean, in terms of that, with the tuition fees, obviously there's a system of loans in place, but not to postgraduates. Do you think that there should be a system in place due to the current position?
I think funding of postgraduates is a really important issue. It's one that I've spoken on in Parliament, and I was at a launch event for a new report on postgraduate education that's been published this week. With the expansion of higher education, I know that many students need to distinguish themselves in an increasingly competitive graduate marketplace, and they're doing so by undertaking a master's programme. And if we are restricting those programmes simply to people who can fund themselves, who have the personal wealth to do that, then we're dealing a body blow to social mobility. So I think it's really important that we put in place a proper funding mechanism to be able to support students in postgraduate study.
In relation to that, with the high costs that are currently introduced for such students, do you think that could lead to a form of elitism, like you just mentioned about obviously people that can fund themselves? Do you think elitism is something that could arise?
Well, I do. Under the current system, there's a real fear that the good work that I think we did as a Labour government between 1997 and 2010 in expanding opportunities through opening up undergraduate education will be undone if those opportunities don't also exist for taught masters in particular, but also for those who want to go on to research programmes.
This march is focusing quite highly on international students in terms of, maybe sort of like excluding them in certain areas, like which has been mentioned in the press. Do you think that's like a big issue that needs to be raised at this demonstration?
I think international students is a hugely important issue. It's one that I have been campaigning on, probably leading campaigning on in Parliament. I think that the very short-sighted approach that this government has to the way that it has changed the student visa regime, to the way that it has acted against London Metropolitan University, to the way that it has closed down post-study work opportunities, is sending a message around the world to international students that you're not welcome in the UK. And that's not true. Apart from the contribution they make to the intellectual discourse in our universities, the contribution they make to research, the cultural richness that they bring, they also bring £180 million to the local economy. Hugely important. And it's foolish and counterintuitive for the government to be discouraging international students. I feel very strongly about the issue, and I'll be pleased to see it raised in the demonstration.